partners are Bitterroot College and MSU Northern in Havre, and I don't see either of them on here, so we'll make sure we just do a recording so that they can check in with this. Well, congratulations to you both. We're excited to be meeting Noah and Matt this week, as well as it sounds like Hannah is the third AmeriCorps member. We will get to meet from Bitterroot College. So thank you for your work in bringing these folks on board, and we're excited to get this underway. We anticipate this shouldn't take much more than probably 45 minutes or so this afternoon, and we will do a recording of it so that if you need to kind of come back or if you've got questions, you can feel free to call us. And I sent out an agenda just on the reminder note here shortly, or just recently, so you should have that. I'm joined by John Stefani and Regina Curry, our office manager, and we're just going to kind of start jumping right into this, unless you all have questions before we go.
I'm fine.
Okay. Well, on the MTCC overview, I think both of you have heard this spiel when we did our original calls on starting this up. We don't need to jump more into this. Campus Compact is a national network, and we represent the Montana network. A big part of the way we do community engagement is by aligning our office's work in support of the college access and success movement. So we're excited to get an AmeriCorps program going again in the fall of 2015. That's all I'll say about Campus Compact for now. So in terms of AmeriCorps, I know Amy is an old hand when it comes to knowing our AmeriCorps programs and AmeriCorps in general. And John, have you worked in your past endeavors with AmeriCorps at all?
More indirectly than directly, but when I was with OPI, we had AmeriCorps related people in a couple of our areas.
Gotcha.
Josh, I'd also like to say I've been a bit removed for a couple years, so it'd be good for me if you feel at liberty to start at ground zero. I won't be offended.
That sounds good. Well, and the landscape has definitely changed, and we'll turn some of that discussion. Regina will help us understand some of the major changes that have happened. AmeriCorps was created in 1993 during the Clinton administration as kind of a huge part of the Bush senior legacy, kind of culminated with this idea that we needed to do a big investment as a country in national service and really create opportunities especially for young people to serve their communities and to address community needs. There had been Vista and Senior Corps prior to that, and the creation of AmeriCorps kind of brought two things into place: a big focus on kind of a broader set of needs, not simply defined by poverty, and the creation of the AmeriCorps Education Award, which is a voucher that AmeriCorps members and Vistas who successfully complete terms get when they are done. And so, very much in the idea of Senior Corps and Vista, AmeriCorps is national service. Same as Peace Corps, same as many other service programs. The focus is on unmet needs in the community. In our case, obviously they relate to education, but there are other kind of buckets of needs out there, from the environment to health, public safety,
veterans,
the needs of the veterans community, and a number of other ones. The tagline for AmeriCorps is "Getting Things Done," which is kind of the, you know, the idea behind this program. You know, kind of identifying a problem and really working hard to say, look, we're doing something about this. You know, we're directly engaging with it. We're AmeriCorps members are doing direct service and working to address this need. There's a minimum time requirement, but the idea with national service is that it is work until the job is done and not until you think that, you know, you're done for the day. If there's a Saturday activity, it should not be outside kind of, you know, that should be a pretty standard expectation. If folks have identified some work that needs to be done on a Saturday, it shouldn't be a really big ask of a person wearing an AmeriCorps uniform to help with that. The Education Award a couple of years ago, this is one of the hallmarks of the Obama administration, was pegged with the Pell Grant. So finally it has begun to increase in value, where for years and years and years it was set at just under $5,000 for the full-time education award. Other pieces?
I think that's pretty good. For more information, I definitely recommend kind of taking a look at some of the national resources for AmeriCorps on the, hey Ruth Ann, taking a look at some of the online resources too, to get an idea of, especially some of the, you know, priority focus areas, things like that. There's some unique ones out there that the compact really doesn't focus on, like disaster preparedness, a few things like that. But yeah, if you've got some free time, definitely take a look at some of the online resources for the corporation as well.
Other AmeriCorps programs currently operating in Montana include Montana Conservation Corps is the absolute kind of largest. And
Gosh, all of a sudden we got a lot of background noise. I can't.
maybe we can mute.
Here, mute me. I thought I had my earphones on, but maybe you're picking something else up.
We're picking up your mic. We can mute you though. If you just, oh yeah. There we go. Awesome.
Perfect. Sorry about that.
No,
Okay.
not at all. Montana Kansas.
There we go.
All right. Montana Conservation Corps is the granddaddy. Obviously, they do conservation type work, primarily with, you know, a young person focus. There also is a Montana State Parks AmeriCorps program, a Justice for Montanans AmeriCorps program, the Energy Corps program, which is headquartered out of the National Center for Appropriate Technology in Butte, beautiful Butte, Montana, Butte, America, and the Food Corps program, which is headquartered out of there also, or Portland?
I believe it's out of Portland technically, but housed and at NCAT as well.
Housed at NCAT. They work on healthy, you know, nutritious kind of lifestyle stuff, and bringing kale to our schools is how I view them. And we also have some Jesuit Volunteer Corps AmeriCorps members that serve primarily with rural and tribal areas, places like St. Labre. The Poverello has hosted JVC AmeriCorps members. They also are run out of, they're a national direct grant and they're multi-state, but I know many of them operate in Montana. So AmeriCorps members sign on for what is called a term of service. In the case of this compact AmeriCorps program, we're defining that as 9 months and 3/4 time at least. Specifically, they need to have completed 900 hours of service, and Regina will talk a little bit about the living allowance and insurance and so forth. The education award that comes with this term of service is, I believe, $27.75 just under $3,000 for this leader position. For the team members, the 300-hour positions, it's about $1,200. For the 450-hour position, I think it's about $1,500 or just under $1,600. So Regina, you want to, let's make sure we bring you in.
Oh, I think I'm in there already. So just covering their pay, right?
Yep.
Just basically what it is they're going to be paid bi-weekly. They're going to be paid by UM. They'll receive a paycheck. Do you want me to specify how much, or?
Mm-hmm.
It's approximately $230.77 per week. So for those 2 weeks, it would be $461.54. We do provide the medical insurance if they opt for it. If they don't, then of course we don't provide that, but they do have to provide proof that they have insurance. Again, that's approximately $214 that we pay monthly for their insurance. Let's see here. What else do you want me to cover? Do you want me to go into the criminal history, or?
No, so the 9 months breaks down as, I think, 39
Exactly,
weeks.
right.
So just under 20 biweeklies, and the gross pay for that pre-tax is, for that whole period, is $9,000, and again for the biweekly it's just about $460, a little bit more.
That's correct.
So any questions for Regina on the cute kid? Questions for Regina on the specifics of the pay or benefits for members? Obviously, with 3/4 time work, you know, there's room for another job or part-time schooling. So long as the work doesn't suffer, you know, the AmeriCorps service is made a priority. We're comfortable with those things happening as well. I put a bullet down here for strong local supervision. I think the key to our success with this thing is that you all at the local level make this person a part of your team and make them feel supported and line them out so that they can get their work done. You know, our office is not going to be meddling in kind of the daily kind of supervision of this person. That is the responsibility of you all, and we really want to transfer that and do so pretty completely. You know, we're here to support and to train and to you know, run obviously the business side of this, but we really view this as a network initiative, and that means you all kind of getting these folks lined out so that they're successful. So hopefully that's clear, and you know, there's not, you know, not any ambiguity there with kind of who, you know, the chain of command is very much local supervisor is the main go-to for these individuals. That said, a couple things before we get into performance measures. We are measured by both our recruitment and retention of AmeriCorps members. So we need to fully utilize the grant funds that we have, and we need to retain and help the people who enroll with us complete their service. Those are, in order to continue being successfully funded into the future and to grow this, those are some baseline expectations that the Governor's Office of Community Service has of us as a grantee. So just want to be clear on that fact. The main prohibited activities of AmeriCorps members are pretty common ones. Essentially, it's partisan, political, really anything political involved in campaigns or issue advocacy, and religious activities, so proselytizing or religious instruction. Kind of the same stuff for, you know, any of the federal programs that I'm sure you've already worked with, and it's not going to blow your minds to hear that. The kind of more nuanced prohibited activities are staff and volunteer displacement, or I erroneously wrote down duplication. So you can't kick somebody out of a job so that an AmeriCorps member can do that work. And I don't expect, with kind of the state of public education, public higher education in 2015, that that's happening. But there does need to be that clarity of purpose, that this was not something that was happening before. This is adding value to work that our staff members are doing. It's helping us reach more beneficiaries or deliver additional services to our beneficiaries. We're not simply just kind of, you know, hiring an AmeriCorps member because it's cheaper. So any questions on any of those sort of overview items?
Not for me.
Good.
Okay, so Regina is going to talk again here about the criminal history check, and this is one of the new surprises. It's not really a surprise. One of the new features of AmeriCorps that we're blessed with.
Right. Well, every member will be required to have a criminal history background check to be conducted in the state where they reside. If they do have if they lived at a previous, have a previous address in another state, then we will check that state as well. We also check the National Sex Offender Registry, and they will have to undergo a fingerprint check. So that's going to be later on after we get authorization to do that. That's pending right now. So currently all the members have been checked through Montana database and have been checked through the National Sex Registry. So we're just waiting on the FBI fingerprint.
Checked and cleared.
Right.
So folks are good to begin working and doing their kind of direct service responsibilities. The policy are on the FBI check, kind of while this is still pending and we are in the process of getting set up to receive the the data from the FBI. You want to?
Yeah, we've implemented a new a company form that they're going to have to submit if they are working with what they consider a vulnerable crowd, children under 17, adults over 60. Then they have to fill out this form. It just specifies the site, the service member, and a company member will have to sign off on that. Now, the company member has to be cleared as well. So whoever signs off on this form has to have a previous background as well and have been checked in the National Sex Offender Registry. So
like a school employee.
Exactly.
Would be a good example.
Yeah, and the member will have these forms. We'll supply these forms to the members. So.
And that is meanwhile while the FBI
Right.
check is pending. So we hope, once those get completely handled, we won't have to do those any longer. So hopefully soon on that, knock on wood. But it's state government, so there is oftentimes a lag in kind of them processing new applications through, it sounds like. Okay, questions on any of that? Okay, so I'll move down to program activities. The approach that we are encouraging folks to use, and I guess I'll just go back to the basics. This program very much supports, as I said, college access, and the work that happens, is already happening with the TRIO community and Gear Up folks, and is meant to add value to that and help that work reach either, go deeper with kids who maybe are on the fringes of that, or reach new parts of the state where there just is not a lot in terms of college access programming and opportunity. The college positive volunteerism approach basically says when college students serve or volunteer alongside youth, you know, K-12 kind of aged youth, there are great opportunities for norming the idea of going to college. College defined very broadly, post-secondary education. All of the many things from 2-year certificates, apprenticeships to 4-year and beyond that, you know, we're lucky to have in Montana. So the model is a pretty basic one. It's putting together service projects where college students get to volunteer with younger kids and using that opportunity to share what it's like to go to college and kind of practically talk about what, you know, studying for a test or living on your own or financing, what goes into those things. So we're excited to kind of, you know, create these opportunities for college students, I think, to really serve as ambassadors for higher ed. And we've got a great toolkit from, that nationally was developed in Michigan that has a lot of, you know, activities that can be tailored to local communities that have been proven to work that folks can use. So that can be a component of what AmeriCorps members are doing. John has put together a reporting tool, and I'm going to hand it over to him to share.
If I can slide it over, it'll take me just a second to get my screen share up. This is the one here. So as Josh had mentioned, the world of AmeriCorps has slightly changed in recent years, one of which being, is everybody able to see my screen there? Should see something that says service beneficiaries there, kind of.
I'm on the phone.
Oh, okay. We'll try to send this out to you as well in an email, John, and the members will get pretty thorough training on this starting tomorrow out there in out in Great Falls. So in the world of AmeriCorps, they've really moved into what they're calling performance-based budget management, where we're really being held accountable for certain criteria that we kind of set aside for ourselves during the grant application process as far as what our targets and our true overall impact are going to be. And a little bit later in this conversation, I'll actually run you guys through the entire reporting requirements, but the two that I really want to talk about in a little bit more detail are what are called these output performance measures and then outcome performance measures. So fortunately for this program, as opposed to the VISTA project, it's very simplified when it actually comes to the performance measures. So the first two here with the output performance measures, we've got our ED2, which is the number of students completing a CNCS supported education program, and then the ED4A, which is the number of youth / mentor matches that have been created through the program. Both of these requirements are pretty straightforward, should be something that's able to, I guess, be tracked utilizing sign-in sheets, activity logs, things like that to really kind of gauge the number of youth who are, number one, completing a program as well as kind of getting established into those youth mentor type of relationships. Now, these output performance measures are extremely important because you are required to report on these over the next 9 months. And like I mentioned, I'll do some pretty in detail content for the members out in Great Falls about exactly how to record that data and then also how to then in turn report that to our office. So I guess any questions at all on those output performance measures? Really, I think kind of straightforward, just the number of folks who complete programs and then also the number of folks who, or youth I should say, who are paired in mentor sort of relationships. Alrighty, well, I will slide down to the next one. So right here in the middle of the screen, we've got outcome performance measures. Let's see, where did it go?
I might have screwed this up.
I might have to find that. So with this one in particular, this is actually what is referred to as ED10, if I remember correctly. I want to pull up our grant and double check that for you while I got you guys here. Give me just 1 second. Okay, so
I guess the number of youth enrolling in post-secondary education.
I believe that's correct. I believe it's page 19, if I remember. Yep, there it is. So the next one here is ED10 here, our performance-based outcome, and that is ED10 number of students entering post-secondary institutions. Now this performance measure in particular might be a little tough to report numbers come the end of the project, because an awful lot of the individuals who are the youth enrolled in this program probably aren't going to be attending college within a couple of years. So at least for the first year or so, we probably anticipate seeing ED tend to be a pretty low impact number to start off with the idea that over time, within about 3 years, we should see, our target here was to see about 80 individuals transition into some sort of post-secondary education, whether that's a trade school or a workforce development program, or actually even entering into a 4-year institution like tech or something like that. So these are the 3 very specific performance measures that each member will be required to, number 1, track and record, and then also number 2, report to us. And I guess on the back end of that, with these performance measures, these are the exact figures that we actually report to our funder and the Governor's Office of Community Service. So it is extremely important that we do track these over the next 9 months anyway. Any questions on those performance measures? Alrighty, well, I'll ship it back over to Josh, and if you do have any questions or follow up about those performance measures, you might touch base with the members once they get to site and get really, hitting the ground running, because they will receive a pretty detailed orientation on this week.
All right. In terms of supervisor responsibilities, so your responsibilities, the number 1 is, supervision, and as we said earlier, kind of lining out the AmeriCorps members so they're really having, a solid AmeriCorps service experience and the ability to do some good and support the work that your campus is undertaking. I think that's a huge responsibility, and we don't want to sort of stack too much on, because I understand how much goes with that. Our goal with the reporting is to really have that be member driven and have them understand what it takes to do a quality job of that, so that they get support from you, but we're not piling on kind of too much additional to that really core job of supporting and supervising your leader. The AmeriCorps experience is really designed with the idea that, by giving a pretty significant part of your time to service to the community, that you'll be rewarded with, kind of the opportunity to have kind of like that atypical kind of early professional experience where you really have some serious responsibility and opportunity to perform and kick butt, basically. So I think that's kind of the flip side of working for very little money is, this should be an opportunity for these folks to come on board, get placed in a role that really has high expectations of them, and allow them to perform and create some awesome service experiences for college students as well. Second piece of kind of supervisor responsibilities, I think managing the community partnership. So whether you're working with a school district or school or Boys and Girls Club, kind of being that that institution to institution partner, and kind of spearheading kind of the MOU or agreement that gets put into place between your college or university and your nonprofit or school partner, so that that is solid and the members can go and do good work. Next thing, and John will show you our time log database that we just fired back up, or John just fired back up.
It was a group effort.
Mostly you and Regina, I think.
So this is actually, I guess, to take a step back. So the system that we're going to be utilizing for members to report their time logs and things like that will actually kind of be a flashback to Campus Corps. Would have been, I guess, the 2011-2012 programming year that they really moved everything into an online format for reporting that time log. So fortunately, everything was kind of set up for us. All we really had to do was just kind of plug and play it into our website, and hopefully it'll function properly. I did quite a few tests this morning, and it seems like everything is working properly. So for all of you, I have set up accounts specifically for you as coordinators or as supervisors to actually go on and approve not just our leaders' time logs, but also the 300 and 450 hour members as well. And of course, at the moment, we only have 3 confirmed leaders in place, so I've only been able to enter a handful of those in the system. And then in the coming weeks, as we start to get college students enrolled into the program, we'll be able to input them as well too to begin tracking their logs as well. So the easiest way to navigate to the area in which you will actually log in, if you click on our website, and John, we can send you direct links to this too in a follow-up email, but if you go to our website and click on initiatives, or I guess click on the drop-down arrow for initiatives, and click on that top one there, MTCC AmeriCorps. And this will actually take you to our brand new program. A lot of this is going to be in the works, so we should have a lot more content on here. Hopefully really be able to expand our resources and things like that on here as well too. That way it's not just a one-stop shop for our coordinators and supervisors and leaders, but also for the members as well too. And of course, if you have any suggestions for resources to put up here, we'd love to see them too. Really starting to kind of develop this from the ground up. So the first one I want to start with is actually the system in which you will log in to verify individuals' time logs. So simply click on the time logs and reporting link and click here to enter hours and reports. So for our purposes here, I'm actually going to log in as John Bull, and I've set up just a generic login and email for all of us. So the login for all of you as coordinators, and Amy, right now I've got you set as the tech, I guess, coordinator. But it's just the first letter of your first name. So for John, it would be J, and then the last name. So J Bull is the login for this. The preset password that I have for everybody is MTCC AmeriCorps 2015, and we can send that out to you in a follow-up email because that actually is case sensitive. So I will log in as John. Look at that, it worked. So once we get into the system, each and every one of you will actually have your very own profile that you can link in your Facebook URLs. You can post your email address, things like that. I do urge all of you, once you do get a chance to log in, to please go in and change your password so we don't have access to that. If at any time you forget your password, just let us know, and it's really easy for one of us here in the office to actually reset that password for you. So pretty I guess user-friendly system nonetheless. I know I typically forget my password a couple times a year, so it's nice to be able to have that flexibility. So the biggest thing that you're going to be doing in here is probably the first 2 links here, the manage members and the time logs. You'll also utilize some of the exited lookup as well as some of the reports. Currently, our coordinator resources here on the right-hand side are still links that go back to some of our 2011-2012 Campus Corps programming. I was flipping through some of the resources yesterday, and some of them are still really good, but there's other sections where some of the resources have broken links. So that's something that we'll be looking to update here in the coming months anyway. And you can also search for your members as well too. So what I want to do here, I do know that we have placed John Bull's leader with Matthew Perry, if I remember correctly. I did get Matthew entered in the system today, so if John was going to log in here, and actually this might actually be a bad example because his first official day isn't until tomorrow, so he won't appear in the system. So I'm actually going to go back through and log in as Rock Turner there with Bitterroot College, because I know his leader actually started yesterday. So I will be able to view her in the system. Alrighty, so again, once we get logged in, if we want to view who Rock's current members are, on the right-hand side there, you simply click on the Manage Members link. And currently, he's only got 1 member listed, and Hannah Honey, who is his leader. A couple things to mention here. If you click on their name, if we have their proper email address in, it'll actually take you so you can do an Outlook email to them. But the most important thing here is that we're looking at this little clock dial here kind of under Actions. And this is where you're actually going to be able to view their current times, the time logs they submit weekly, and also kind of see where their current status is on their steps to completing service. And of course, with Hannah just starting yesterday, there won't be any official, here on the left-hand side, there's no official time log for her to report yet. But as probably as of Saturday, that should open up for Rock to actually go in and verify Hannah's time. Now, the one feature I really, really like about this is here in the middle where we've got our time log totals. It gives you the type of service year that they're doing, so all of our leaders will be that 900-hour term of service. It'll show you once you've had a chance to approve time, how many hours they've completed, how many remaining hours they have. Another important one is how many weeks do they have, and then it even breaks it down of how many hours do they need to serve per week. So that's a really good number to see right there, is that we're looking at about slightly over 23 hours per week to complete 900 hours at the term date here, and we see her expected completion date here of 7/23/2016. So it's a pretty intuitive software package that really allows us to really gauge the progress of the individual during their terms of service. A couple other things that you'll see down here as well. Once she does log hours, we'll be able to see her last logged hours, kind of keep track. Is she really serving 40 or 50 hours a week? Is she really just maybe doing 10 or 15? You can also track any amount of fundraising that they might be doing. And the citizenship development, direct service, and fundraising will actually be broken down within their time log report, so we can actually see exactly what is the member spending their time doing. Are they out in the community working with youth, training volunteers, mentoring, or are they maybe spending a little bit more time with citizenship development, professional development, maybe going to a conference, reading some articles about effective mentor relationships, or are they maybe spending a little bit of time on fundraising? Are they developing some sort of funds that are going to continue the project after their term of service concludes? You'll also notice here that each individual, they can spend up to about 180 hours of their service during doing citizenship development or professional development. As we all know, 180 hours out of 900 is a tremendous amount of time. So we're giving our individuals plenty of time to grow professionally and hopefully gain skills that are going to not only enhance the project, but the team members that they're going to be, I guess, kind of mentoring themselves too. And then we also see down here that we're looking at about 90 hours maximum for fundraising. So any questions, I guess, kind of on the time log? Once you do have the members in the system as well, it'll make more sense because you'll actually see not just your full-time or your 900-hour leaders, you'll also see your 300 and 450-hour members as well too. And I know that during Campus Corps, this was a really nice screenshot that our coordinator, Eileen Cohen there in Dillon, would actually take a snapshot of and send out to us. I think it was about monthly. She would kind of give us a cumulative total on our hours just to give us an idea of where we're at currently and what do we really need to plan for in the future to complete our term of service. So really neat little tool that we've got there. So that is kind of the time logs, and a lot of this will be pretty self-explanatory too once members do get into the system and start actually serving as well too, where we'll actually be able to verify time logs as we move forward. Another feature within here, we've already done our time log, so if you click on just the time log link here, this is a really nice one just to keep our ducks in a row as coordinators and supervisors. What sort of pending logs do I have to approve? It's a really, really nice, easy link to click on. Pending logs for supervisors, for secondary site supervisors and Campus Corps, those were the individuals who signed off on it before the coordinator did. You can view all members and do a couple other functions in here as well too. So the time logs link is a nice, easy one, so you don't have to go member to member. You can just look in and see what is pending. Moving back into kind of this home menu, you can also search for exited members. So anybody who might have completed their term of service, just to kind of see where people are at during their current, I guess, term. Of course, Rock won't have any exited members as of yet because its members haven't started. So kind of play around with that feature once we kind of get to that point as well too. Coordinator resources I've talked about, you can search for members as well. This is a really nice way to say, hey, you know, Jim Johnson there hasn't submitted a time log for 15 days. Maybe I should send him an email because he's getting really close to being, you know, on our bad list, that he hasn't submitted anything for our records. So it's a really nice function to actually search for a member. You can also create your own profile. This is something more for yourself if you want to put in a direct Facebook link to or a website link to Montana Tech or Bitterroot College, things like that. That way people can actually view the organizations that you're currently working with full-time. And of course, log out, the final button there. Now, I do want to jump back a little bit. I think this is where I jump into a little bit of reporting. So we have multiple different reports that our folks will be filling out. And I'll start with this, I guess, within this system first. So if you click on your report link here, you'll see a couple things, and some of this should look pretty familiar, at least to our Butte folks out there. So team and special project reports. These reports in particular refer directly to National Days of Service, so Global Youth Service Day, 9/11, we'll be talking about Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service and Read for Peace with the members up in Great Falls. So MLK Day will really be the team's first real big special project. And the completion of these reports will really fall on the shoulders of the team leaders, or the leaders in particular. So they will receive really in-depth training. So for you as coordinators and supervisors, this will at least give you an area in which you can go and view those reports and maybe print those out for your own records or create a press release to send to your web designers or something like that. So you actually won't have to do a lot in with this system here. But leaders will have to fill out team and special project reports. I know that with our program down in Dillon, we also had a few of our members fill these out if they did a really cool kind of side event, a really neat Saturday volunteer event with youth or something like that. I would ask them to actually fill that report out themselves since they were really the lead on it. So there's a good likelihood that you should have some team members filling these out as well too. Now volunteer surveys, it's one thing that Josh and I haven't had a chance to really discuss, but I'm assuming it'll be very similar to Campus Corps, where each and every volunteer that is recruited will be reported specifically for the member. And it's a brief little survey that we fill out, to kind of capture the demographics. How long did they volunteer? Are they a baby boomer? Are they a disadvantaged youth? Or are they a veteran? So these volunteer surveys are pretty straightforward, usually from what I remember take about 1 or 2 minutes to complete per survey. And we do have a really nice paper template that we used to use in the past to have a hard copy record of it before we uploaded it into the online center. My favorite part of reporting, the great story, each and every member, whether they're a 900 or a 300 or a 450-hour member, will complete a great story at the close of their term of service. And this is essentially just a place in which they can create a narrative to kind of maybe talk about the biggest impact that occurred for them. What was that defining moment in their year of service? Was it, when the light bulb flashed on for a young child when they finally figured out what division means in math or something like that? So the great story is my favorite. Actually, when I was flipping through this system yesterday, I actually had to do a little bit of a sentimental retreat back to 2009 to 2012 and look at some of the great stories that some of my former team members had completed, and as well as the 2 that I had completed as well too. So it's kind of neat to go back and look at those over time as well too. And then the next couple we've got here, member exit survey. As members move towards the completion of their term of service, we'll go through this exit survey just to answer a couple questions for us and really give us some good information to drive the program forward in the future. Get an idea of what their experience was like. Was it successful for them? Is it something that they would recommend to a friend or, recommend coming back themselves for? And then we've also got a community partner survey that'll be for the school districts or even for the college to fill out exactly on what that partnership was able to accomplish over the year. So those are the 5 types of reports that we'll see within our own Campus Compact login. I'll take a little bit of a step back as well, and I might have mentioned this previously. We'll set up login accounts for all of the members, whether they're 900, 300, or 450-hour time slots. So they'll be able to log in and actually see something very similar to what you see. I might actually go back. I'll log in as Hannah Honey, who is our one member who is actually in service currently, because she has, as far as I know, has not updated her her password. Time logs. So I will give you an idea of exactly what the members will see once they log in as well too. So theirs is very, very similar, where they can create their own profiles. They can click on the same report links, and they'll see the exact same reporting. One thing in particular here, when you log in as a coordinator, you'll be able to see all the reports that have been submitted by individuals who fall within your program. Now for the members, they will only be able to view the exact reports that they themselves have submitted. So it's very specific to that individual. They'll also be able to click on the time log screen and see, am I delinquent? This is also a great spot where they can actually log in and see their own totals as well. But as we know, especially with college students, a lot of times they don't take the time to actually look at it. They'll probably just log their time and exit out of the system. That's why it's really nice to maybe take a snapshot of this maybe once a month or maybe even quarterly, just to say, this is where you currently are with your service. They can look up members within their area as well. If they want to connect with a member who's in their program and need an email address, they can actually look up for members as well too. So that's kind of a nice functionality within the system. And they can also create their own profile. And this is something I would encourage for our members, because our members will be able to search and see other members within their area. And having a good profile is going to ensure that they're connecting, they're networking. They can even link in their own personal Facebook account or something like that on there as well too. So it's a great spot for them to kind of share resources, connect with each other, and hopefully swap some resources and maybe do some joint projects together as well. And of course, they can kind of log out there too. So before I move into probably the most important report that we're going to ask for, which will be a monthly report, any questions at all on the Montana Campus Compact kind of login side?
Questions will come when I start trying.
Okay, perfect. And that's kind of what I figured too. Once you kind of really dive into the systems, you'll probably maybe have a few questions on some of the navigation tools and things like that. And of course, probably have a couple bumps in the road when it comes to members reporting their time logs and kind of staying on top of them as well too. So do let us know if you have any questions kind of moving forward on that. So like I mentioned, the most important report that they will be doing will be their monthly report. And we have created a really nice form in Google Documents. I've been utilizing Google Documents for reporting for our Vista project for about a year now, and I've had some really great successes with it. It really gives me some great ways in which I can view the data, manipulate the data, and actually then take that data and translate that into grant proposals and I guess even annual reports for our board of directors and our statewide network. So we will be utilizing Google Forms, at least in the short term, maybe the long term, for this report. And I'm going to scroll through. What I'm actually doing right here is actually scrolling through the editor version, and I'll show you guys the live version here in just a moment. So as we move through this, there's 9 total pages to this, and it should take each member maybe half an hour to an hour at most to complete this each month. These will be due on the 5th of each month. Obviously, if the 5th falls on a Saturday or Sunday, they're more than welcome to submit that in advance or early, or they can also submit that the next working business day. But this first page here is really just the basic information. Who is completing the report? What is the member's name? And then from there, they'll actually be able to click on a drop-down box here that'll have currently our 4 confirmed projects. And then, of course, we've got 2 more coming in, hopefully pretty shortly. We'll have 2 more that'll be logging in as well, so they'll be able to select the exact project. So us, as I guess kind of the bigger reporters, will be able to say this data came directly from Tech or this came directly from Dawson. The next box will ask them for the project period. And I think this section is pretty self-explanatory. If you're submitting your report on November 5th, it's obviously for the most previous month being October. And we do have project dates that go all the way from, I guess, September of this year all the way until the program concludes. So they're all already kind of built in there. The second page of this, I've kind of gone in detail already. This is your output performance measure section, where we'll be reporting the number of students completing an education program and also the number of youth/mentor matches that have been created. So I won't go too in depth on that one. Our next slide is the outcome performance measures, and I'll make sure I do update the ED10 there, the number of individuals who move on to pursue follow-up education in the future. So pages 4 through 9 are really kind of the data that we like to collect as a compact. At the end of the day, we're really trying to mesh not just the mission of the compact, the mission of your institutions and organizations, and also the mission of AmeriCorps. So we really want to make sure that we're collecting all that data that's going to be able to then be utilized for us to apply for grant funding subsequently in the future. So these ones are obviously all questions that have to do with college access performance measures. How many individuals received FAFSA support or, did some sort of a college application support. So I think these questions are pretty straightforward, just the number of individuals who did receive college access programming. Page 5 of this, kind of moving on down, it's just volunteer generation. As we know, we do have a volunteer component with this, not just with service projects, but with volunteering in the greater community. So we do like to collect that volunteer data as well. One thing I'll emphasize here is unduplicated. So if you get a volunteer who is a tried and tested volunteer who comes back each and every week for the next 39 weeks for the duration of the project, we only need to report this individual once as a volunteer. Now we will continue to record their volunteer hours. So if they record 20 the first week, maybe 2 the next week, we'll continue to do cumulative totals on that, but we only need to record them as a volunteer once. And that's something that I'll go pretty in depth with the members on as far as the reporting. That's usually the biggest mistake I see in these reports is that they double count individuals. Page 6 of this is the volunteer hours, just to kind of get an idea of how those were distributed. I just ran a really incredible progress report supplement for the VISTA project, and it was really neat to see that demographic switch between number of community volunteers recruited and the number of college student volunteers recruited. And it's data that we can use for our board and you guys can use for yourselves to really say this program is not just making an impact on the schools and the disadvantaged youth, but it's making a clear impact in the lives of our college students, which is why we're here at the end of the day. So we do like to see that kind of divided out. The next category here, and this will really dive a little bit more in depth from those performance measures, is really what sort of service beneficiaries are we looking at? You know, is it, you know, maybe a youth who's tied to a veteran father or veteran mother, really to kind of break that down of, you know, where are these demographics coming from? So that's page 7. Page 8 is just kind of, and we'll probably play around a little bit with this title because it's actually still the title for one of my VISTA reporting softwares, but this will also dive a little bit into the beneficiaries as well as kind of run into some of the number of activities completed this month, number of new systems that have been created, the dollar value of cash and in-kind resources that have been leveraged. So this one's just kind of the additional benefits of running the program itself. And then the 9th and final page is probably my favorite page here, being an English major and a history major. I really like to see things in narrative form. So we do ask that they complete these 4 narratives in depth. All these questions are required, so even if you don't have anything to report, you'll be required to at least put a 0 into the box. So members can't just skip right through the report. But we do ask, you know, how's the campus and community partnership going? Is that something that's formalizing or strengthening over the course of the next 39 years? Also do a little bit of a narrative on what sort of professional development and citizenship development you've been able to do. Are you able to do larger team meetings? Are you able to read articles and really grow as a professional as well? And then we always ask for monthly accomplishments. Is there anything big outside of this report that you'd like to let us know? This is a great spot to really let us know too if you had a really great event going on. Maybe it's time for us to contact you and do a press release. So this is just an additional way for us to kind of stay in the loop with the projects. And of course, we always ask project challenges. You know, that's always really good to know as well. Or what are the issues facing not just the institution, but maybe the volunteers, maybe the mentees, people like that too. So it's really nice to kind of address that as well. So those are the 9 pages to the official monthly report. I think they're pretty straightforward. And of course, John, once you get a chance to kind of flip through those, do let us know if you have any follow-up questions. And from here, I'm actually going to switch to the live report here. And this is what it'll look like for the members. This is that first page where they had drop-down menus where they could select their institution. They could select the exact project period. And one thing that I really like on here, especially with this generation of people who are always kind of in a rush and like technology, it'll tell you how far you are for completion. Like I said, it should be maybe a half hour to an hour max. I think the average time our VISTA members are spending on this currently is about 35 minutes. So it's something that doesn't take a lot of time, but at the end of the day is something that's extremely important, not just for your offices, but for our office and then also with our funder in the Governor's Office of Community Service. Any questions at all there on the monthly report? Pretty straightforward, and then of course we'll go really in depth with our members, kind of talking about ways in which they can record this data, designing spreadsheets and member sign-in sheets and participant sign-in sheets. So we will definitely go pretty in depth with the leaders once we get them in person this weekend. They can't run when they've got me for reporting. So.
All right, thank you, John. The last piece we've got here is starting strong here. Obviously, we are very excited to begin orientation this week in Great Falls. Part of the Building Engaged Citizens Conference will be new member orientation for these AmeriCorps members. I think we have gotten work plans from both Tech and Dawson, so thank you both for getting those in, and we'll be riding Bitterroot College's butt a little bit on that. Maybe it's waiting in my inbox, but I think that'll help us to kind of, you know, really demonstrate that, you know, these have come from your your site, and you got to start wrapping your head around how do you turn this into an action plan that you can begin implementing your first week and month on the job. Local orientation for members begins the week of November the 2nd, and we've done an orientation template out to you as well. I know many of these folks, both Matthew and Noah, I think have lived in the community for a while. So if there are redundancies or things that you just determine, look, he already knows where the library is on campus, he doesn't have to do that. Use your better judgment on that. But I think good really to intentionally orient these folks not only to the campus and community, but to their role in it as an AmeriCorps member, and not take for granted that they know, the lay of the land or the players in the educational or nonprofit sector in your community, and and kind of task them out with getting out there and learning the community that they're going to be working closely with, even if they already live there. Establishing a check-in meeting and activities for that first week. I think like any other job, just sort of, probably for the first few days at least, meeting at least once a day and kind of making sure that that leader is lined out and kind of feels like they've got plenty on their plate to keep them busy, help them come up with their early task list and get going on the activities that you'd like them to work on. And obviously, kind of biggest single thing in their first month on the job, I think is going to be getting cracking on establishing that AmeriCorps team and talking to you about, okay, how do we recruit college students into this AmeriCorps world? How do we determine folks who have got a work-study award? What are the next steps there? Our office will support the enrollment in the AmeriCorps system, and we will come and help orient those folks, but really that's a big responsibility of your leaders, and kind of helping them understand the how-to side of that will be important early on in their service. Those are the big things I think we wanted to cover today, and I know we're right at our time, but before we head off, what questions do you have?
In regard to holiday schedule and the college schedule, does the leader follow our schedule?
Yes, that's a good question, John. Okay, so these guys will be issued pay regardless of their time on the job. And as John just showed you, the minimum hours to reach 900 over the course of 9 months is 23. So that's very much the minimum. We've been talking about this as 3/4 time work, figuring that, there's a Christmas break typically enjoyed by many campuses, and if the campus is shut down, then typically the AmeriCorps member is not expected to show up for work. That said, if there's an opportunity for a day of service, or it syncs up with something that they can do with your partner, and it makes a lot of sense, they're an AmeriCorps member and their job is to make a difference. So you have some discretion there, I guess, long story short. We see that 23 hours as kind of the minimum, and if we see that a person is regularly not meeting that minimum, we're going to talk to you and say, okay, it looks like something might be going on, and we're concerned that this person is not going to reach their 900-hour mark, which means they don't get a huge benefit of AmeriCorps service and the education award. That's going to be how we define kind of basic level program management. So I think really setting the expectation early on that, look, this is close to a full-time job, 3/4 time work. Let's call that, these hours specifically, and, check in with me if you're feeling like you are, have got more time in the day than you know what to do with. but when it comes to breaks over the course of the year, you know, so long as they're moving in a pretty strong direction toward completing that, at least that minimum term of service, then we should be in good shape.
Okay, so that would include like our break at the college and the high school break are different weeks. Part of them are different. So if there's no high school students around.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and you know, the leader could maybe use that time for some preparation for, like, perhaps a Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, or another, you know, larger project, maybe a signature event that you would like to do, a volunteer, you know, student volunteer in the community project. If their main opportunity to do their service with the high school is kind of shut down, I think it's a good time for them to get creative and move to something else, you know, and say, look, I want to come back and work on that project with the student senate that I was, you know, that we had discussed, and figure out what needs to happen for that river cleanup, or for that, you know, for that playground, you know, construction project that we had been talking about. You know, there's some good opportunities, I think, for being flexible there.
Okay.
I know from my experience as well when I was a leader, it was a really great time. I loved when the school was shut down, because it gave me a chance to really do some professional development for myself as well, to really sit down and read through some of the articles and, like Josh said, prepare for the next step.
Great. And I got to run, guys. I got a 2 o'clock.
Okay, John. Well, thanks for joining it, and we will talk to you soon. We're excited to meet Matt.
Good. Very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you,
Take
John.
care.
Bye-bye.
Other questions before we release you?
Thank you, Josh.
Yes.
Just saying thank you. I don't think I have other questions.
Okay, well, we look forward to meeting Noah, and thanks for your work on this, Amy and Ruth Ann, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.